Hello everyone, welcome to the ESS BIZTOOLS Black Friday webinar extravaganza, where we're talking about systematic business advisory services. I'm joined today by Andrew Geddes, a well-known accounting industry consultant, and for 10 years was the chair of Green Cross Limited. How are you today, Andrew?
Very well, thank you, Peter.
Andrew, thank you for joining us, and we're going to spend the next 30 odd minutes just going through 5 of the business packages that are contained within ESS BIZTOOLS so that we can give an overview of them, and hopefully people will be inclined to have a good look at them to help them deliver services to their clients. So I'm just going to bring the screen up so that our viewers can be watching the background material as you and I have a chat. Thank you. So Andrew, the first one I wanted to talk today was the Business Advisory Services Training Package. It includes 13 modules to guide an accountancy firm through this process. But one of the most important documents there is the SME Needs Analysis that is based on a document that you originally produced many years ago.
Yes, it's a great tool. It allows an accountant to have a conversation with a client, be it a new client or an existing client, simply by, if you like, printing out the document, tabling it and walking through the items in the needs analysis, a number of question areas with your client. I guess a great way to illustrate it, Peter, is let's talk about the needs of a new SME client. When they come to you, you've got to get to know them. So what better way than tabling this needs analysis questionnaire and asking the client about their business. Most accountants are focused on the compliance side of things, so they'll suggest a structure for that particular business, and that will allow them to do tax minimization and risk management and estate planning matters, and then that leads into quarterly BASs and pay-as-you-go taxes and income taxes, and then annual return preparation. That's the traditional compliance type client. What the SME Needs Analysis questionnaire allows you to do is to ask questions of your client about their business around, have they got a business plan? Have they got budgets? Do they have formal meetings to monitor actual results against those budgets? Do they analyze their revenue streams and profit margins so that they know where their profits and cash flows are coming from and how they might grow those better and easier parts of their business? So to me, the needs analysis questionnaire is a great starting point to have a conversation with the client about how you might then get more involved over and above the compliance needs of that particular client.
And Andrew, it helps confirm to the client or give the client a clear understanding that their accountant is interested in a range of matters to do with their business operations, not just income tax.
Yes, and you couple that with, okay, let's identify our top half a dozen clients. Let's go and visit them. Let's take one of our young accountants with us and have them sit in on a needs analysis type discussion, and they could act as a minute secretary and take notes. It's great training and exposure for the team members. It's a good break from sitting in front of a computer screen, and starting to talk to the client about, have you got a business plan? Can we put some budgets together? Can we help you? Is a great way of deepening the relationship. In terms of what might come out of that, if a client, we look at a business plan and budgets, and then we've got to ask ourselves, well, how do we help this client achieve those particular targets and goals, financial goals? And it may be that the client has to put together some business improvement projects. Now, the accountant and their team member doesn't have to be an expert in, say, building a new website and improving digital marketing, or improving IT integration of various applications so you've got more timely information about customers and sales. As long as in having a discussion with your SME client, you identify a need area, you then might be able to refer the client to, I know someone who's a specialist in website design, digital marketing, or someone who can help with IT integration. So one of the things I think accountants shouldn't be concerned about is trying to be the expert in some of those other functional and business improvement areas. It's from your compliance involvement, you can become the external CFO and be involved in the budget and monitoring process, and then suggest, let's just choose 1 or 2 areas to improve each quarter. And if we have to engage external specialists, we can. And Peter, perhaps there are some government grants that we can access to help improve those areas, because there's lots of them, and you've got material to help the accountants and their client identify where we might get some, dollar for dollar support from state, local or federal government grants.
Yes, well, in the first webinar today, which is being recorded, and anyone that missed it, you can watch it on our website or on YouTube. It's been uploaded as we speak. So we talked about the Accelerating Commercialization Grant. That's a $1 million grant to help someone that's undertaken research and development. We also talked about research and development, which is a grant, and it's quite considerable, 43.5% of the R&D expenditure. So there are some great grants, and we've got full systems on those grants within the ESS BIZTOOLS packages. Andrew,
sorry, Peter, I was just going to say, I've got an environmental engineering manufacturing group in Newcastle. We've accessed a state government, New South Wales grant to help us improve website and digital marketing, dollar for dollar. So there's other state and local council grants that are available as well. And we try to choose one project a quarter to improve the business. And as the external accountant involved as their external CFO, I mean, they have their own internal accountant, they create their own budgets, but I sit with them and quarterly we go, right, which is the bit we need to improve this quarter? And then we meet monthly and monitor it. So that's the sort of business improvement focus that an accountant can bring to a client, helping them identify and then actually implement actions to improve their business.
Yep. Okay, so the only other thing I wanted to add on the business advisory services training is this work is different from doing tax work. Business advisory service, you have to immerse yourself in what's really happening in your client's organization. You're not starting from a balance sheet or a profit and loss account. You've got to get back into the key performance indicators and what they're actually doing. And hopefully those 13 modules will take you through that process so your team familiarize themselves far more with what's going on in a client's business.
Yes, well, questions about where do your sales come from? Who are your customers? What are they buying? What are the margins on those products or services? Can we add complementary products and services to what they're buying and therefore increase the average sales and or profit margins? How do we get more of our better customers? So it's accountants having the ability to ask those type of questions to get their clients thinking, and then the design of business improvement projects, which we might use either internal people or external specialists to help develop and deliver. The accountant plays a role of a bit like a financial Sherlock Holmes. Understand the business and its revenue and margins and cash flow and try and improve the good bits. And if anything, eliminate the poor clients, slow payers, bad payers, the ones who are tire kickers in terms of price and margin. It is not difficult work, but it takes time and you've got to get to know your client's business. What I'm seeing is as accountants are taking their staff out to clients with them and involving them in the process, it enriches the jobs of those young people and they can see a career path whereby, yes, they've got to do some compliance production work, but there's also the relationship with the client and an involvement with them in meetings, taking minutes, working on project groups, revisiting that creates an excitement for the team members. So the profession is crying out, we can't get enough people. They're offshoring their compliance production. They're starting to integrate via the cloud, various apps, and using some of the automation that's available. So how do we attract and retain really good young people? I think we've got to involve them in our client relationships where the fun and the challenge and the learning really is. And then you go, okay, tomorrow I'm back in the office and I've got to put my head down and get some BAZs done. Well, you've got something to look forward to in terms of the next client visit and involvement. So it's more than just thinking about me as the partner having a relationship. If you can involve your young team members, it might be part of a solution to attract and retain good talent.
Yeah, well said. I think that's very important. Incidentally, Andrew, we had a message come up there before from Alan Godby.
Yes, I remember Alan.
He sent you a greeting. I didn't know if you noticed it there while you were talking before. So he's with us. So thanks very much for being with us, Alan.
G'day, Alan.
Okay, so we might just move on then, and I just want to bring up the next slide as we move into business planning. Business planning's control within ESS BIZTOOLS. We have a procedure control form. We've got 23 individual questionnaires looking at all aspects of the business to guide you through that process. And we've also developed 12 industry configurations, we call them. So that there's a retail business plan, there's a tradie business plan, there's a professional service firm business plan, there's a farmer business plan, and so on. Good. So Andrew, business planning is very important, isn't it? It's really the foundations for a lot of the other things that we're doing, and that's how we've developed it within ESS BIZTOOLS.
Yes, and you've got various questionnaires that you can use to have conversations with clients. And it's a matter of a lot of small business clients, they're like accountants. We get so busy in our businesses, we've got our head down doing the stuff we've got to do to look after our customers. Whereas once a year, we probably need to pull our head out and get in a helicopter and sit above the business and think about what are the trends that are affecting the industry we're in, the trends affecting the community that we're in, what's happening to our customers, visiting or ringing up, say, a dozen of the best customers a week before a business planning session gives you a fresh insight into what your customers like, what they don't like, what they'd like to see more of or less of. And you can ask them, well, you've come to us for a service. How does that make you look? How does it make you feel? And build that into briefing your marketing people. So a lot of those questionnaires help you get to know your small business client better. Again, you don't need to have all the answers. Ask good questions, identify one or two areas that need improvement, work out if you've got the skills to help improve it. If not, who does? Maybe your small business client needs to create a senior leadership group and involve them in the business improvement processes. This is part of the scaling up management methodology. So again, having done that, you can go, well, we've got a business plan. We're going to try and offer some new services or better products. We're going to do this marketing. Let's build that into a budget. How can you do a budget unless you've thought about what you're trying to do over the next quarter and 12 months? And then you can suggest, well, let's meet monthly or quarterly to review, one, how are the business improvement project groups going? And two, how's our financials, budget versus actual margins and cash flow going? That's the start of moving into business advisory work. It is a natural progression from compliance involvement to external CFO, setting of budgets and targets, and the business plan has to be done in order to have a decent budget.
Yes, and that's why I said before, the business plan, I think, is the key step. Foundation that needs to be done, and that the budgets and the cash flows should be the financial
Summary
solution for
of the plan.
what's in the plan.
Yes.
I can remember when I had a contract with the Oz Industry in the Comet Commercialising Emerging Technology program, that in one occasion somewhere in Australia, I had a business plan given to me and a budget and a cash flow that had been done by separate consultants that I thought were coordinating. But when I read it, they were
3 different plans.
It was like German and Russian, or no, they might be close, German and some other language.
Yes.
And when I talked to both the consultants, the guy did the business plan said, well, you know, that's what the client wants to do. When I talked to the guy that had done the budgets, he said, oh, I don't agree with what's in that plan. I said, hang on. We got to present this as an overall document. So it made me really appreciate and to stress to anyone that was working on projects that the business plan's the key document. The budgets and the cash flow forecasts and the projected balance sheets all flow out of that. It's the financial interpretation of what's in the business plan. Very important.
The accountant of that client should have coordinated all those people and got them in the same room if possible. So they were working together, have a ferocious debate, attack the issues, not the person, agree on the plan, then you can create a budget that's realistic. That's
right. And we're talking about business budgets and cash flow forecasts later today. We have Paul Barnaby, who's an expert for Plan Guru, and Paul is also a very experienced chartered accountant, and he will be going through the business plans and the budgets and cash flows and projected balance sheets. Andrew, we might
targeting.
Yes, we might move on then if we can to have a look at the next item on our agenda, which is crowdsource funding equity raising. Now, this is one of my favorite products within ESS BIZTOOLS because I think this should be a favorite area for accountants all over Australia, especially anyone who aspires to be offering business advisory services. Your client can raise up to $5 million if their turnover is under $25 million. That's their gross international turnover. If it's under $25 million, there's a couple other things. Their gross value of assets is also going to be under $25 million. They need a vision. They need a plan. They need a business plan. They need to have an appreciation of corporate governance because there's going to be some external directors, or there should be. They've got to deal with someone called a crowdsource funding intermediary, which is a financial organization that's been appointed by ASIC to be the gatekeepers on this process.
Yes.
But $5 million is a lot of money, isn't it, Andrew, to be able to raise from the public? You've had considerable experience in your Green Cross days with raising capital. It's not cheap,
no.
But the capital raising to raise $5 million in crowdsource funding is a lot cheaper than doing an initial public offer, and it's probably part of the journey, and it's a lot simpler.
Yes, it's certainly one of the options. Having done your needs review, having done your business plan, having done your budgets, you might go, well, we're a bit short on cash. We need to raise some equity, or we don't want to borrow more from the bank, or the bank might not want to loan it to us without the small business client putting up their home or other forms of collateral. So certainly it's an option to help raise money. That the interesting thing you told me was of all of the applications, only about 5 to 10% of them actually are accepted by the intermediaries.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, it's not even 10%, it's 5%.
Right. So that means poor business plans and poor budgets and poor governance structures that put either those small business clients are not doing it with their accountant's help, or the help is not particularly good.
Unfortunately, that's the conclusion. I hope to have a video conference call with a couple of the crowdsource funding intermediaries in the next couple of weeks to get their slant on it. But the figures were produced by the joint founder of Equitise, Johnny Wilkinson in Sydney, and he indicated that they and the other intermediaries and Equitise has about a 40% share of the market. There's two companies, Birchall in Melbourne and Equitise in Sydney, that have about 80 to 85% of the market share so far. They're doing the deals. They're saying that they sit down and start processing less than 5%. And of that, only 70% of the, or 76% it might have been, of the 5% raise capital. So at the end of the journey, only 3.6% are raising capital. I think that's a disgrace. Because those companies, and when I do the interpolation, I think it represents about 1,250 companies started the journey but couldn't complete it. Now, that's a lot of wasted manpower, a lot of wasted initiative. And I think it's something the accounting profession should take note of. Even with all that, the capital raise went up 125% between 1920 and 2021. Get the years right. So during the COVID crisis, the 46 companies that raised money raised 125% more than was raised in the previous year. I think there's great opportunities out of this legislation, and a lot of the key advice for people in this area is in accountants' hands to deliver.
Yes, perhaps some of the small business clients tried to do it themselves without involving their accountants and didn't do a very good job of it. But again, I would be, well, I have advised a number of small business clients to, if their own accountant hasn't got the ability or the time to do it, to find someone who's got the experience to help them. And that way, hopefully you're part of the successful equity raising group. But it is a source of finance that's available, as opposed to private equity, who seek their pound of flesh in terms of the percentage that they might want, and the valuations and the discounts they want for providing their money up front and the risk they're taking. So it's a way of maybe not giving away so much of your equity in order to raise some capital that you need, particularly with a startup. Here's one, Kaiko, on my Black Friday shirt. We had our launch party last night. That's a consumer-based advocacy, and you can go and have a look at that online. But that's again raising capital in order to get these businesses up. It's you know, if you haven't got the experience yourself, create a relationship with someone that could help you. Perhaps I know those intermediaries would be more than willing to help accountants improve what's put in front of them. All you got to do is call them and ask.
Yes, and next year we're going to be launching a more targeted program on that, involving some of the intermediaries out of those two leading companies and a couple of the others. There is 4 of them that there's 16 intermediaries appointed by ASIC, but 4 of them seem to be very active. And we're going to try to involve them and have them go through the problems. This is what we're seeing, because gee, I'd like to see a couple of hundred companies a year raising a couple of $1 million each. It would be a great market. And that's what's starting to happen in the United Kingdom. There's a lot of money getting raised, but they've had this for 6 or 7 years longer than us. And I think it's a great opportunity for accountants to really claim this as an area that's in the accounting domain. If not, other people are going to have it.
And Peter, if you do one and do it well, it helps that business in your community, in your marketplace. And then you've got that experience, then you might be able to do another and do it a little bit better. And then, you know, you can then promote with your client how you've been able to raise equity and help them grow and develop their business. I think it's a great way for particularly region and suburban accounting firms to position themselves in the market and help small business clients, because the more vibrant the small business, you know, that includes farmers and on processes, not just looking at CBD big city areas. There's a lot of small manufacturers that are developing in Australia at the moment because of supply problems and the initiatives that the government are driving in terms of we need to create the capability in this country to produce a number of things. I think accountants can help support those initiatives and be seen within their communities as leaders of, the sector that employs more people than any other sector.
That's right.
So, and some of the sectors are going through change because of all sorts of market forces, and consequently, the accounting firm, if it helps, all you got to do is pick 1 or 2 or 3 of your really good clients and help them in this way, and you'll be seen as contributing to your community. And that means, okay, well, perhaps you can attract some better clients. It might mean you've got to delegate some of your compliance work to your team, and the management of those clients entirely to your team members. But if they've been out with you to visit a client and seen you do a needs review, all of a sudden, apart from them doing nothing but compliance work, they're starting to create a relationship and manage some simpler small businesses. That way you're teaching your replacements, and it's part of, I guess, the accounting firm's own succession planning. And that's something we're going to talk about a bit later on.
Yes. Okay. So, and just to finish that, the intermediaries want to have companies that have got social media presence. They see social media as very important. So the benefit from an accounting firm being very proactive in helping someone when they're going to have as much social media presence as they can get will also benefit the accounting firm. There'll be a rub off there, but because it will be known who has the company itself will be saying, we've been assisted by XYZ accountants. So I think it's a great opportunity to do things. Andrew, we might move on if we can, because we now want to turn to another area, which is strategic business mentoring. I included this some years ago. My background, as you know, Andrew, was I was the chief financial officer, company secretary of a listed public company. And the role really was as an executive director. I was a director of our main subsidiary companies. And I tried to model that as to what an accountant can be doing. It's not just being sitting there as the accountant. If you're sitting in a boardroom environment or some sort of other an advisory board environment, you've got to look at these broader commercial area, and we have some material on that. And is that something you'd like to comment on, Andrew? What about scaling up? Does that fit into that sort of process that people should be thinking about it?
Yes, of course it does. The key to it is the annual strategic planning meeting. And to prepare for that, we've really got to ask ourselves, here's a particular business, who are the clients or the customers of this business? What are the trends that are affecting this industry, the customers and the business? And let's think about, who are we selling to? What are we selling to them? What are the margins? Let's talk to some of our customers in the weeks before a strategic planning event. What do they buy from us? How do they feel about us? What are their future plans? It's really sitting in a helicopter saying, let's sit with our business clients and ask them, what's happening in your sector? What's happening in your area? Who are your competitors? Who are your customers? Where's your best margins and most of your profit and cash flow coming from? And what have we got to do to grow and develop that side of your business and to deal with any trends and risks? And then that is really what a strategic planning session is all about. It's what's happening out there in the business environment. What are the changes and trends? What's happening with demographic change? What's happening with consumer habit? I mean, look at COVID and lockdowns and the changes. I reckon it's driven an acceptance of using technology to work from home and to shop from home, probably 5 years worth of change in 18 months. Businesses who haven't developed an online shopping presence are being left behind. So that's an example of a broad trend affecting the way consumers do their business and make their buying decisions, and what we've got to do to respond. So strategic business mentoring is an annual planning event. What are the trends? What's happening to our customers? What have we got to do to look after them? And then thinking about what are the business improvement projects we've got to drive, and involving our senior team members in it, involving our clients' senior team members in it. And meeting with your client once a month going, if you've got 1, 2, or 3 business improvement projects, what's happened? So perhaps you say we've got to upgrade our website and get into some digital marketing. Who's going to be on that team? And once a month, let's get them to report to the business. You know, you as the accountant and your client, the business owner, have that group report to you once a month, and you know that things are going to happen. And the accountant can drive that by saying, we've done a strategic plan. We've put some budgets together. Now let's meet monthly and monitor not just the financial results, but the business improvement projects. Just pulling the earplug out of me.
Getting too excited.
Yes, waving my hands around. So you become part of their team and part of the client tribe. It's very rewarding. I mean, that's what I now do. I've got 10 advisory boards, and that's more than enough. And I'm part of each of those businesses' senior leadership teams, and it's exciting and interesting work.
Yep.
So that's, you know, an accountant can go, let's look at my top 2, 3, 4, 5 clients and move into doing the needs review, establishing a plan, thinking strategically, building a budget, building some project groups, reviewing results. That's the scaling up process. And it's that pattern of planning and reviewing, implementing and reviewing, creates a pulse for improvement in the business. And you become the driver of that planning and analysis and communication and implementation with your client. So you just become part of that decision-making team. And as the client grows and develops, so can you, because then you start talking with your client, and back to the needs review questionnaire again of how can we take wealth out of your business and make you financially independent for retirement? How can we start training some of your senior people to do key roles that you perform, so that's a risk management thing. If you get hit by a bus, the business goes on, or in time, if you want to sell it or retire, you can do that. So to me, it's the strategic business mentoring is a natural flow on. It's the external CFO role, but it's the accountant playing the role of asking a whole bunch of questions, what I call the financial Sherlock Holmes.
Yep.
Where's the profit coming from? Where's the cash flow coming from? Who are the good customers? How do we get more of them? And driving that communication process.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a good overview of that. And then we'll turn to our last item we have there, succession planning. Succession planning is very important. We have obviously a system for succession planning, as we have for everything else. We have 28 business advisory services forms to guide you through the process. They're the sort of things they're covering. So Andrew, I'm sure you've done a fair bit of succession planning work in a listed public company and in other organizations.
Private companies, yes, very much so. And I noticed in the slide you had up, there was items such as the family charter and the family council. It's in bigger family businesses where you've got different generations working in them, looking at the business itself and looking at the family, they're two separate organizations, and you really need to help your clients. If you then look at family farming enterprises with a very large asset being the farm and the equipment and everything else that's associated with those enterprises, it really becomes quite a complicated and detailed planning process. You know, some members of the family may not be equipped skills-wise to take over certain roles, and they really need to realize that and to create a self-improvement plan. And if they want to play a role, pass the advisory board's assessment of their ability to do that role. So helping families make sure that they've got people who can perform the roles and helping that communication process within the family means that succession planning is more than just helping someone sell a business sometimes, particularly if there's various levels of various generations, and the business is going to continue, and the succession involves extracting an owner and some value so they've got money to retire. Other family members have got the skills to keep it going, and financially it can survive the extraction of a family member. So often this is done over a 5 to 10 year period, with monies put into superannuation and other tax effective saving and retirement tax structures. So it requires the bigger and more sophisticated your clients' businesses, the more work that this requires. And sometimes you might need to get the help of an external specialist in this area, be it in superannuation or be it in estate structures, or even in simply the counselling of family members.
Yes, it's an interesting area, and it's again one of the product packages that we've developed in ESS BIZTOOLS to assist accountants to get started in offering these services. And you're right, in some instances, especially in this one, they may even have to go to a larger accounting firm, even to a big 4 firm, where have got more specialist people. But in the initial stages, I think it's important that the accountant, who's the traditional advisor to a client, should be able to offer these services to at least get the client started on that journey.
They've got to have an understanding of the elements that are involved, and to be able to educate the client that, hey, we need the help of a specialist with this, or we need to get some people outside of the relationship to talk to some of the family members about whether they've got the skills or not, and the aptitude and attitude to take on the responsibilities and the role within that business. Sometimes the founding father or mother is the hardest nut to crack in all of this. They don't want to let go, and they don't think anyone else can do it.
They're going to live to 300.
You've got a few of those experiences.
Yeah.
I know.
We've all had them. We've all had them. Okay, so Andrew, thank you very much for those expert comments on this aspect of 5 of the products that ESS BIZTOOLS have. What we're trying to emphasize here is we've developed these with systems, the process, so that it can be an ongoing assignment and replicated with other clients. Once you've done a business plan for one client, you should be able to look at other clients, especially those in similar industries, as long as you're not breaching any confidentiality. And you wouldn't be doing that. You've already got them as clients, so they know that you've got other people.
But the other important point is, Peter, is perhaps you could start by utilising the various tools and business advisory services forms, the planning forms you've got, to do it on yourself and your accounting business.
Yeah, that might be a good place to start. Yeah.
And start there, yes. And then choose your favourite client and go, let's do this together. And then slowly but surely you can add 1, 2, 3 or 4 clients where you are involved in an advisory board capacity, and you start to do more of this work.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, Andrew, let me just go into do our final presentation. It's Black Friday.
I've got my shirt on.
Yeah, you got yours, and I found my black shirt. I'm going to have to go back to Vietnam once the planes start to buy a new one. But no, I shouldn't say. Black Friday. It's also, we've combined the end of lockdowns, which we'd started to do some specials on end of lockdowns, but we've now broadened that. We have a 50% discount on all of our products. So if you go to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au, our web consultant has manipulated the pricing, so every price is reduced by 50%. We got 32 product packages. The big package is also had already been reduced. The advanced package, which we used to call gold, is $3,250. That's normally $6,500. You get all of the products that we have within ESS BIZTOOLS in that particular package, and you also receive 4 one-hour mentoring sessions over the 12-month period. We also have the Business Advisory Services Starter Package, which is ideal for a small accounting firm or solo practitioner if you haven't had previous experience in delivering business advisory services. You get the key marketing tools. You get the SME Needs Analysis that Andrew was talking about earlier. It's a vital document. But you also get Business Plus, which is our monthly newsletter that you badge and send to your clients. And you receive 15 other products that will get you into the market of being able to offer business advisory, because it covers things like debtors management, covers things like the early stage innovation company and crowdsource funding. So you can talk to clients about those areas if you want it. That package is now only $999, including GST. These prices are available until the 6th of December. Now, we also have some offers from some of our affiliates. Amanda Gascoigne, who's an expert in consulting to small practices and solo practitioners, has a 45-minute solo and small practice coaching session that you could take advantage of. Paul Barnaby has a special that he will offer to the first 20 acceptors. Normally costs $695 for a review of your budgeting and cash flow forecast and projected balance sheet approach. And he will make some suggestions. Priscilla B. Smith, who's the director of Cloud9 Associates, has a special offer on a CPD course. If you give them a critique at the end, the first 5 firms to do that will get back your net course fee of $215. Mark Holton from Smith Inc. They're finally getting their Young Gun Conference, which has been postponed for the last 2 years, I think, underway in on the Gold Coast in February, and they've got special discounts available there. Jordan Lowry, who's Blackstone Business Group, an expert human resources, workplace health and safety consultant, has a special offer on the employment contract package. And Brad Smart, who's an expert in communications. He's a journalist, a blog writer, can offer you skills to help promote what your accounting firm's doing. If you don't feel comfortable in doing that yourself, he's prepared to take on 10 firms and write your first article or blog article, or really whatever you want. You just talk to him and he'll come to an agreement with you. So that's the offers that we have from our affiliates. If you need to contact me, there's some contact information. But please go to our website. We've got a brand new website, www.essbiztools.com.au. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us today and giving us once again your expert knowledge on these matters.
Pleasure, Peter. Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, so this webinar series continues again in about 16 minutes time, when we have the 9 a.m. AEST, 10 a.m. AEDT session. And we have 2 more after that. So we've got 5 sessions today of around 40 minutes each to hopefully give you an appreciation covering 27 of the ESS BizTools products. There's 32 in total. We could only fit 27 into the time we had, but it will give you hopefully a good overview of what we are able to do. And the main point we want to emphasize, there are systems, and therefore you are able to implement to add value to your clients, add value to your firm, because you'll be doing diversified services. But I think one of the big things that Andrew's referred to a couple of times today, and in a podcast last week or a couple of weeks ago, I think one of the big benefits of this work is you are offering your young accountants very interesting and challenging work. And if we want them to work in the profession, I think that's got to be one of our aims, to give them that broader work experience.
Here, here.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you.
Good on you, Pete.
Have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you,
precious.
everyone. I hope you can join us. If you want to join us in 15 minutes, you can do so, or later on today. And we are recording all these webinars. They'll be on YouTube. The first one from this morning is already up, and they'll be on our website if you want to go on and watch them. Thank you. Thanks, Andrew.
Good on you, Pete.
Bye-bye.